What's your name?
Richard Wies.
And where do you work at UAF?
I'm in the electrical and computer engineering department, but I do most of my research through the Alaska Center for Energy and Power.
And that is a center that is looking for sustainable energy, small energy solutions for rural Alaska, and places all over the world. It's really exciting things that happen there.
Yes. And one of the projects we're actually working on, among several, is this idea of food, energy, and water systems and how they interact in these remote communities where they're totally islanded from services like transport of all of their food, all of their energy comes from fuel that's transported in, high cost. Water systems are few and far between, water treatment and such.
And that has global implications as well.
It does.
There's continents that are also equally large as Alaska, and people live all inside there too.
Right.
And so talk to me a little bit about this thing that I just heard about a few weeks ago, the Food, Energy, Water Nexus.
Yeah, so what this is, it's a it's taken on over the last 4 years, looking at how critical infrastructure is influenced by not just energy, but how that energy connects to how we not only produce food, but how we transport it, process it, transport it, and get it to communities to use, but also how we make use of water both for making energy, creating energy for electricity, but also how the use of the water for like domestic needs impacts the use of it for energy and vice versa. So there's a lot of interconnections there that we don't particularly know how critical or how those linkages fit together for the smaller interconnected grids like we have in Alaska. And so that's the point of a project that we're working on that was actually funded by the National Science Foundation to look at these small communities and to see what the real linkages are between the food, energy, and water infrastructure, and to try to come up with a way to not only model and simulate it, but also to figure out how we might be able to optimize it to improve their overall food, energy, and water security.
So indigenous peoples of Alaska have been combining food, energy, and water for millennia. They have river communities. That's where they have fish camps that they go to during the summer. They go when the water is there. Is it relearning things, or is it combining Western science with indigenous knowledge?
It's definitely combining the two, because what we don't want to do is go into a community and say, hey, we have the solution. We want to see how they live and how we might use the way in which what their lifestyle is. They have a subsistence lifestyle, so is there a way we can use what they're already doing to enhance their food, energy, and water infrastructure, enhance the security of it? By, like, say, for an example would be if you have a community that's on the seacoast and they do fish processing. Can we help them by providing energy from less expensive resources to get that fish processed, and then that helps them and helps the economy in that particular community by having a cheaper bottom line for the processing and then the transport of that resource to not only other communities in Alaska, but also to other places around the world.
As the climate changes and the Arctic warms, food that was usually there, or the ways of collecting that food, have to change as well. Can you help these indigenous communities evolve faster?
Yeah, one of the things that actually in particular that we are looking at is the idea of communities being able to grow their own crops. And that's not something that you can do in most communities in Alaska on a year-round basis, just because of the winter. months are pretty extreme, pretty cold. So we're looking at things like developing greenhouses in some communities. Also, there are already some communities out there that have greenhouses, and it's just really because there's a champion in the community behind it. And so one of the first things you have to do in a project like this is actually figure out who your champions are in the community, and say, hey, would you be interested in trying this? And normally they are very interested. But one of the things we're doing is at the university, we're getting students together who have an interest in sustainability and actually developing a device or a containerized unit called a crop box that would work in a remote Alaska community. The idea there is that we can grow crops year-round, vegetables, tomatoes, lettuce, things that a lot of the communities have to have shipped in, and by the time it gets to the community, a lot of, especially vegetables, a lot of it is spoiled.
So if they get them there, they have their own supply. I'm going to move this just a little bit. Let's try that for the last little couple of questions, see what that does to you. Some scientists, they know the work that they're doing connects to improving the quality of life for humans everywhere. Yours has direct results with the people that you're trying to help. What's that like for you as a scientist?
I really, and I'm an engineer by training, and so I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, but I really do enjoy, as an engineer, when something I design or something that I create or something that I can do with knowledge I already have to help people, when it actually comes to fruition and actually becomes something that is actually either tangible or observable, or it actually helps change not necessarily the lifestyle. We don't want to change people's lifestyle, but we want to help them to live better. And so that's, as an engineer, that's one of my passions in life, is to really do that. So.
Well, you are certainly doing that. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes to talk.
You're welcome.
And keep up the good work making the world a better place.
All right.